Welcome to part two. In this part of the solution, what happens if the fetus is bestowed legal personhood? Now let's remember under current law, it's not a person. However, this has been a concern for some moderates and many progressives for quite some time. And maybe it shouldn't be, because one of the questions that can be asked is whether or not the state even has the constitutional ability to bestow personhood given the clear conflict with federal law, whether a state has the ability to bestow constitutional rights. If it does, what does that mean? It means that the fetus has all the rights and protections that we all have. However, that's just half the story and where most people stop. The other half is that it has limitations on those rights and protections that we all have. One of the most important being one person cannot infringe upon the rights of another. One person's rights stop where the other person's begin, no matter what the need. If person A is dying and needs a blood transfusion, and person B is found to be a match, you can't strap down person B, take their blood, and give it to person A without B's consent. You can't even test person B as a match without their consent. That's under current law. So certainly you cannot be required to give up your body for 9 months for another person. That's a clear violation of the 13th Amendment. So a woman would be able to say that she does not want her rights infringed upon, her most personal space, by this fetal person, and that it's only going to get worse over time, and so she wants to have it removed. And legal institutions would have to address that concern. She would be able, in consultation with her doctor, to access safe approved legal treatment and have this fetal person removed under current law. She would be able to decide what happens with her pregnancy. However, what would happen if the state decided to ignore her rights? Well, I can't imagine the number of lawsuits that would come out of that. But say the courts sided with the states. Well, they would be creating the group supremacy complication that was talked about in the previous segment. However, taking this a step further, a woman would be able to ask why she is the only one being held responsible, why her rights are the only ones being infringed. There was another person involved. And the state, wanting to mitigate its violation of the 14th Amendment, could insist that the person she designates have a paternity test. And if found to be a match, that person could look forward to 9 months of mandatory paternal responsibility: healthcare, nutrition, shelter. But this is all rather fanciful. Let's talk about the issue that always comes up in this scenario, and that is the fetal person cannot survive outside the woman's body, so that removing it is murder. Well, this is not necessarily true. First, let's establish that under the law, no one is required to save the life of another person. We're certainly not required to give up our rights or our bodies to save another person. It doesn't sound very good, but it's true. So, as far as the murder question goes, a case could be made that this fetal person is infringing upon the rights of the woman, her inalienable rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, certainly her right to privacy, possibly a threat to her health, and even a threat to her very life. That the removal of this fetal person is not murder, but could be considered self-defense. And that if removed at the time of viability, it would be withdrawal of assistance, also not murder. So, to synopsize, if the fetus is designated as legally a person and has all the rights and protections, it has limitations on those rights and protections. Its rights cannot infringe upon the woman's rights. She would be allowed to say that she does not want her most personal space infringed upon and that she wants this fetal person removed. Under the law, she would have access in consultation with her doctor, safe approved legal treatment to have this intruder removed. Under the law, she would be allowed to decide what happens with her pregnancy. And this is all under current law.